Hello everyone. Welcome to this tutorial about something fundamental for Etendo developers, installing modules. Today, we're focusing on installing modules using the Gradle standard installation method. We'll start by setting up authentication to access Etendo packages from the Etendo software GitHub repository. Open the Gradle properties file. This configuration file contains the variable needed to access the GitHub repositories with all the packages supported and distributed by Etendo. The description of this video includes a guide to generate these credentials for your GitHub user. Once the credentials are set, the next step is to find the modules we want to install. To do this, we access the Etendo Marketplace at Marketplace Etendo Cloud. Etendo's modules are grouped into functionality groups that we call bundles, such as Finance, Copilot, Platform, among others. On this page, we can find all the modules and bundles distributed by Etendo and partners. For example, if we want to install the financial module, we can filter by this category and find the corresponding bundle. Here we see the description with detailed information about the bundle, the main features of each included module, and the link to the documentation. If we navigate this link, we will find each of the modules with their corresponding documentation and even tutorial videos explaining the features. For the installation process, we go to the Install section. There, you will find an installation guide. First, select the version of Etendo Classic where you will install the bundle. As seen in the example, the environment is in version 24, so we select Etendo Classic version 24. Note that if you want to install the module in earlier versions of Etendo Classic, you should still select this version. And now we must copy the installation line, depending on whether we want to install it in source code or JR format. You may ask, what is the difference between these formats? Well, in source code, we have access to the sources. It expands, meaning the code is downloaded, allowing us to make modifications or customizations. Meanwhile, the JR format allows distributing precompiled modules, meaning the resolution is dynamic and modifications cannot be made in this case. However, it helps keep the modules updated and prevents losing changes. We will install this bundle in JR format. To do this, we copy the installation line and paste it into the build Gradle file in the appropriate section. As we can see, we have a compatibility range, which allows the module to always be updated to the latest version compatible with the selected Etendo Classic. On the other hand, now we are going to find another bundle to install in source code format. For example, the Platform bundle. We also go to the Install section. Select version 24 and copy the installation line in source code format. As we can see, the dependency is of type module deps, which means it will expand, that is, download the bundle's content. Now, since we have a dependency that we need to expand, we will run the task Gradle will expand modules. This task will download the source code and ask for validation because it might replace the code and cause loss of modifications. That's why the developer must confirm the installation. As we see in the modules folder, the content of platform extensions expanded in this case. One thing to keep in mind is that its transitive dependencies by default will be resolved in JR format. If we need all dependencies to be resolved in sources format, in the Etendo section, we should set the variable support jars to false, which causes all transitive dependencies to expand in sources format too. To resolve dependencies in JR format, you can run the Gradle task. Gradle dependencies. It is important to note that any Gradle task will automatically resolve dependencies before execution. However, this particular task is especially useful as it provides a clear view of the dependency resolution tree. As we can see here in this example, this allows us to identify potential conflicts or errors in the configuration. If we access the directory Build Etendo modules, we will find the content of all the dependencies that have been dynamically resolved. The last step is the installation. But before that, a short clarification. If we want to update Etendo Classic in our instance, we must first update the core and then update the version range to the one compatible with the corresponding version. Note that we do not recommend using the latest release version, as it always resolves to the latest available version and might not be compatible with the current Etendo Classic. This could cause compilation or runtime issues. Now, the final step is the installation. For this, we update the database and compile, executing the Gradle Update Database Smart Build task. Once the compilation is finished, we need to restart the Tomcat service to access the environment and verify that the installation was successful. Log in with the administrator credentials, and as we can see in the About section, All the modules have been installed correctly. The financial and platform bundles were installed using the Gradle standard way. On the other hand, you can use the Dependency Manager module to manage dependencies, bundles, and modules directly from the Etendo Classic interface. This module is installed by default in the latest versions of Etendo. If it is not, as in this example, we can install it by following the same steps mentioned earlier. In the Marketplace, you can find the Dependency Manager module under the Platform section and install it. At the end of this video and below in the description, you will find a link to the tutorial where the configurations and the use of the Dependency Manager are explained. That's all for now. I hope this guide will be useful, but remember that in the description you will find more information. See you in the next video.